Okay, good seeing everybody. Appreciate you being here. Hard at work and ready for the upcoming week. We've got a lot of decisions to make. We've got a lot of planning to do. We've been at it since last night, and we plan on putting ourselves in position to win this football game, and then going forward to win a lot of football games this year. That's what we've got to do, and the urgency is high. So, what questions do you have?
John, with Lamar not playing yesterday, any thoughts about his status for this week?
Yeah, with the Lamar and the other guys, the list of guys, I would say we're in process of figuring that out right now. So through the week we'll know. Those kind of injuries are going to be, just have to see how they progress.
Is there hope that maybe a couple of those could be back? Hamilton, Stanley, et cetera, maybe?
Yeah, there is hope for that. Yeah, I would think there'll be some number of those guys back. How many is up in the air. It won't be everybody. So we'll have a pretty good handle on who those guys might be probably as the week goes on, and we should be in a little better shape than we were. The good news is we didn't have any new major injuries from this game, so that really is that's a plus. I mean, that's heartening. That's good. So we should be in better shape than we were last game. I mean, last game was, you guys are going to ask the question. It was tough. I mean, it was a tough circumstance. It's one of those, I don't know how many games in the NFL have had that many guys out for a team. So on top of Nnamdi. So that's just the reality of it. But appreciate the way our guys fought. I thought our defense played really, really hard, really hard. And there were some big mistakes. There were some mistakes that, some young guys made that hurt us, against a good offense. And those guys were, they did a nice job against us. But, there's a few plays out there that really shouldn't happen that are kind of young guy type of mistakes. So they'll learn from that. There's positive in that. And we'll get some guys back.
John, you just said decisions have to be made. Are you talking about personnel lineup changes decisions, or what kind of decisions?
Yeah, well, I talk about everything. I mean, I got a long list. Based on how the game went. I can tell you that. There's a long list, all three phases. But it starts with, that for sure. You look at, how guys did and where guys are at and what you need to do and who else might need an opportunity, and a lot of that's with the injuries too. I mean, getting guys back, that'll take some pressure off some guys that were, thrown into a tough spot, did their best, and they'll grow from it. And then scheme-wise, too, there's a lot of scheme stuff we have to look at. A lot of scheme stuff on all three sides. A lot of scheme stuff offensively, some scheme stuff defensively as well that we got to continue to evolve and tweak and get better at, that we can improve upon, I think. And it's nothing that is not good, but, there's things that we just got to look at and say, we got to find some different ways to put our guys in some spots to be able to make some plays. That's something we've got to try to manufacture some things, and that's what coaches always need to do. You need to find a way to manufacture some success for your guys as much as you can with scheme. So that's a big part of it too.
John, you mentioned the young guy mistakes. Have you ever been in a situation where you've had to rely on so many rookies, and how do you, balance it being the excuse of youth and inexperience versus just not performing up to standard?
Well, I mean, it all goes together. Experience is a big deal. When you have experienced guys, they've been there before, they've seen things before. They know how to handle circumstances. Take a guy like Kyle Van Noy. He's seen things, and he's gonna react to things a certain way, and he's gonna make some good decisions and make some plays because of that. Other guys, it's your first time out there, you're seeing it for the first time. It's just going a little fast and things, you end up being a step late, step behind sometimes. You head one way when you should be heading the other way sometimes. That is part of it. It's just there's a lot going on in a football game. You put yourself in the middle of a football play, it's really chaotic, and experience helps you make sense of that chaos. So if I was to sit here and say that wasn't important or wasn't a factor, it wouldn't be right. I mean, it's real.
Coach, after you spoke yesterday, a lot of the players were asked about accountability amongst the locker room. Are you sensing there is enough in there going around?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is a very accountable team. I know I've said it to you guys before, but This is a very serious-minded, determined team, and they take accountability, and they take it hard. And they don't make excuses. They don't sit up there and point fingers. They're not going to be, the heck with this. It doesn't matter. It matters, and I know how much they care because I see how hard they play. I also see how hard they work during the week. So we do talk about that. It's not what you say; it's what you do. And they're working hard, and they take responsibility for their mistakes, just like the coaches do. The coaches are the first ones to say, I've got to do better. I've got to find a way. So that's what I like about our team. That's why I think that we have what it takes to pull ourselves through all this. It's a tough circumstance, tough start to the season. At the same time, it's what we make of it. And I'm not. You can't sit there and say, all is lost. We just don't. And I think year after year, it's proven that approach gives you the best chance to be successful. And we've done it before. Other teams have done it before. So we're going to go to work on that and try to make that happen.
John, what's it going to take to get the pass rush going? I mean, I think the last couple of weeks, the blitz rate, some of the numbers I look at has ticked up, but I mean, it hasn't really been something that you guys have been able to do since the start of the season.
Yeah, it has to be better. I mean, it's got to be better all three downs. It's got to be better on first down too. You stop the run and you try to stop the run, and I think we stopped the run. I thought pretty effectively yesterday when you watch the tape, except for 2 plays, and that's always what it is. And the first run that got out was a straight up, just misaligned defense by, a guy that, is just learning. And then the other one was a scramble, quarterback scramble. So that shouldn't happen. They got one outside of us for 11 yards. That was the 3rd longest play. But yet they bleed us for 3 and 4 more than I want. I want to see those 3s be nones and 1s. And I want to see the 5s and 6s be 3s. That's what we can detail and just be better, tear off better, not get reached, maybe line up a little differently here and there. These are all little detailed things that we got to keep working on to get the run game better. But with that, you got to transition from run defense to pass rush is my point. And that's the challenge on first and second down. Okay, then can we create some pass rush in those situations too? And when you start sending people, it's good to stop the run. But also sometimes the ball comes out real quick and now you're light downfield and you get catch and run plays. So that's the trade-off you have. But we've got to find a way to manufacture more pass rush on all 3 downs. I'd like to see us in 3rd and long a lot more. That's why I bring up first down, because it makes it a little easier to call the blitzes, So those are all the things that we're looking at.
Clarify something. Yesterday, Teddy Buchanan started the game with the green dot. Did it switch to Malachi Starks? I think no, not at all. Teddy wore it the whole game.
Yeah, Teddy had the whole game. Yeah. Malachi is a safety. He was a free safety, so he was communicating. The safety communicates to the secondary. The call oftentimes, he'll get it from the play caller and he'll give it out to the corners a lot of times, or the safeties have got to communicate based on formation adjustments. A lot of times what coverage tool we might be using, because those things change based on alignments and formations and motions and things like that. So there's a lot of communication there.
Yeah, there was somebody that said that Malachi was, communicating, so I think that's where the confusion was.
Oh, okay.
John, not often do people question physicality of the Ravens, but I guess with not being able to stop the run, not being able to run the ball, I think a lot of people are saying, is there an issue with physicality? And when you're watching the tape, do you feel like there's a physicality issue?
I mean, in the result, we're not running the ball. We're trying to run the ball. We're not running it effectively. I do think there are reasons for that, and it's not the guys aren't playing with physicality. They're playing with physicality. There's a lot of physicality going on, but the result has got to be, we believe in that. We believe in running the ball. We believe in stopping the run. You got to keep people honest. People are going to make it a point to stop your run at all costs. Then you got to make them pay for that. I don't think we've done a good enough job of that. With complementary type plays and things like that have been executed that well. We just haven't sustained and created a rhythm on offense enough. We've scored points in some games, and that's been good because we've had so many big plays, but that's not really a rhythm either. So, we're not on the field enough. I mean, we were on the field for 40 plays yesterday basically that were executed. That's way low. We've been between 40 and 50, 55 plays. So that puts a lot of pressure on your defense. So that's complementary football. You got to be able to sustain drives, get first downs, get ahead of the sticks. Same thing on defense. You want to put them in long yards. We've been in long yardage, and our opponents have been in manageable. That comes back to first down again, first and second down. It comes back to running the ball, but it also comes back to the complementary plays off the run. So we got to execute better, and we have to stop the run better, although it was better on tape than I thought, and I think we're going to be okay with that. I believe that. And we got to run the ball better, but we've also got to make people pay for stopping the run better.
That point about running the ball better and some of the things about looking at kind of everything, I mean, is looking at personnel changes maybe on the offensive line something you consider?
Oh, yeah, everything's on the table. I mean, we always consider that. We look at it. I'd say it's a conversation every week. Sometimes it's not really a conversation because, you know who you're, when Kyle's healthy, I know he's going to be our starting safety, and Marlon's going to be our starting nickel. But there are guys that are, in that area where they still have to prove themselves, and those guys are under consideration all the time. They are the starters because they have earned that to a point, but you got to keep earning that, and you got to keep getting better. You can't plateau. It can't be like we want to build something and then all of a sudden it's not getting there as fast as we think it should or we envisioned it. If we were hoping for you to make more progress as a player and it's not happening, then at some point in time somebody else is going to get a chance, and that's just the way it should work.
John, you've talked a lot about getting Jair ready. He talked yesterday about how it was unfamiliar, I guess, for him to come in as a reserve. But how did you think he did yesterday with his
I thought he did okay. I think I just love the guy. I mean, I love his attitude. He's working super hard. I don't think he's 100% back yet, but we sure needed him out there with all the injuries and stuff like that. And I thought he went out there and really, really fought and really tried to do well. So, as far as, the level of it, I mean, there's a lot more football in Jair for sure. And that's what we got to just try to keep pulling out,
John, the lack of turnovers, I know has been something you guys have talked about even going back to the all season. It seems like in some of the softer zones that you run, are you liking I guess, how easy it is looked at times when you guys do run some of these softer zones that guys are just always open?
Yeah, no, I'm not liking it at all. I mean, it's zone coverage. I mean, the Texans played a bunch of zone yesterday, and they played it better than we played it, so it wasn't as, soft as you said. It wasn't as much space created. And that's and they play spot drop zone too and match zone just like we do. They play them both. So I would say that we got to play them better, and we got to react quicker when we do play zone. We play man. I think we can play man. I like our man coverage guys, and we played quite a bit of man yesterday. We have. I see us playing man in the future, quite a bit. But there's man is a big energy burn. It takes a lot, and you got to. If you want to play it a lot, you really got to be getting a big pass rush because you need the ball to come out quick when you play a lot of man. So those things are kind of complementary, and I think so. I think we got to be, some younger linebackers in there. You start getting more of a feel. Younger nickel, younger safety who are playing those underneath zones. They play a little more tentative because they don't have that experience, and they're a little late, and it looks like it's softer zone. Those aren't by design. Those should be matched quicker than they are. And that's what we keep working on. We keep practicing. That's why I say the experience is valuable. You should play better every time. And if you don't, then if you start, like we said, if you plateau, you're just not going to be out there. You got to keep getting better. So that's all the things you're talking about is all part of the stuff that we see as well.
John, if Lamar can't play, or is it Cooper Rush, or could you consider maybe getting Kyler some?
Consider everything. Consider everything, every part of it to try to get the win. That'll be we talked about the next 24 hours.
Coach, after looking at the film on the third interception that Cooper rushed through, what did you see from Rashad? Did he stop the route? Is that what happened there after watching the film?
Well, I mean, what'd you see?
It looked like he gave up on the route.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why I haven't talked to him about it, but that you got to keep running through that ball, no doubt.
We talking about Cooper Rush overall and watching him. How did you think he handled his first start here?
I thought he handled it well. I mean, I don't like the result, and I think it looked bad, and all those different things. I think Cooper would probably tell you that the interception, the late throw interception to Petre early, that was not a good one. You know, he'd want that one back. The tip ball was kind of crazy, just a crazy play. I mean, you know, this is one of those years so far. You know, you got to, hopefully the odds will come our way a little bit. You got to think it's going to turn. You know, I think we'll start getting some interceptions or some crazy plays. You know, some tip balls for touchdowns and all these different kind of things that happen. It's going to make us stronger. So, and then the deep ball one, you know, I really couldn't put on him. It just wouldn't be fair.
Is that what you're kind of, how many times did you watch that second? Or is it like, and try to be like, what happened there, sort of thing?
Yeah, it's a crazy play.
John, I think the question us are getting the most is why hasn't Patrick Ricard gone to IR? Are you getting close to that where you have to make a decision there? Because yesterday you were pretty short-handed in the secondary.
Yeah, Pat Ricard?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I guess we'll put Pat up at some point in time to talk about it, but people are like wondering what's going on. It was a surprise deal for us. I mean, I'm just going to be honest about it. Okay? Is that okay? You know, Pat, it just, you know, it was supposed to be a 2-3 week injury, you know, when it first happened in training camp, and then he kind of retweaked it, and it was supposed to be another 2 or 3 weeks, and the thing has just been like, it's been a slow burn. If we'd have known it was going to be this, we'd have put him on our, you know, the first week, you know, and we'd have had another roster spot. So it's just, nobody's more frustrated than Pat, and that's been a tough one, you know. So we're looking at that. We're looking at that to be, you know, the Bears game. I mean, that's the one I'm hoping for Pat. I'm hoping for the Bears game. He is too. To put it out there, we'll see if he makes it or not. You know, if he makes it, that'd be great. If he doesn't make it, then whoever we play after the Bears, it'll be that game. You know, that'll be what we'll be shooting for. So Pat's a part of it. It's definitely a factor.
John, I know it's a different season, different set of problems, but is there anything that the defensive staff that you can take from how the defense started slowly last year that can carry over to this year?
Yeah, that's a really interesting and good point, and I do feel that way. You know, I feel like I feel confident a little bit because of that, and also because I feel like we're in a better place than we were last year. You know, last year there were some real challenges, you know, and we were able to get those things turned around and fixed. And I talk about the defensive staff and Zach, you know, that was impressive. And I feel like these things that you're seeing right now are more fixable even. So after, you know, watching it, like, it's still frustrating, and, you know, you put 5 or 6, you know, rookies out there and at one time, and this happens or that happens. But a lot of times, like, that happens in defensive football. A lot of times plays get made to overcome that, and it doesn't really affect you. So it's nothing's really perfect, but we've been forced to be a little bit perfect. And so, you know, we've got to get veterans back on the field. We got to find a way to create plays, manufacture pressure, get some tip balls, get some balls batted, you know, step in front of some passes and get some picks, put pressure on the offense more than we have. And that's what we've got to be going for with the players that we put out there and then the schemes that we come up with. It goes back to this player and scheme conversation. It both goes hand in hand that way.
John, earlier you talked about this kind of just being that type of year to this point. Just in passing, but with it going so unexpectedly different, have you felt the need to do anything out of the box, whether it's saying something or doing something? Like, have you felt just the need to try to do whatever, I guess, even if it's different, to try to stop this?
Honestly, I'm having a tough time following the question, you know, because, yeah, we do something every second of every day. You know, we do a lot of things all the time, and we're working like crazy because it matters so much. So we're doing different things, different schemes. We're figuring out different ways to play man coverage. We're figuring out different blitz patterns all the time. We're looking at our players. We're changing our practice schedule up. I mean, even when you're winning, you should be doing that, because if you don't keep things moving in this league, they catch up with you just like that. So heck no, we don't do things the same way. You know, everything's been changing every day. Everything changes every year. Everything changes every week. Nothing stays the same, you know, and I think that's if you're going to be successful in this league, but probably anything in life really, but I know for sure in the National Football League, you better be evolving and finding ways to do things differently all the time because it's just so competitive. There's a lot of challenges out there, you know, and it can be fixed. It can be corrected. Things can turn, you know. That's been proven by us and by other teams. So we know we can do it. We're going to fight like crazy to do it and come up with a way to do it.
John, I imagine you've heard the data on how few 1-4 teams have made the postseason. Is that something that you guys would talk to the team about to sort of emphasize the urgency of the week, or is there no point in talking about it because everybody already understands the urgency of the week? Or, I mean, does that sort of context even matter?
Well, yeah, that is the context. I mean, that's the reality. You know, I think we're perfectly capable of doing it, but we've got to become a really good team. You know, and we certainly weren't a good team on Sunday. I mean, we weren't even close to a good team on Sunday. So now there's a lot of reasons for that, and that's not like that doesn't say that that's all we can be. You know, we were better than that. You know, Sundays before that. So we need to be a lot better than that Sundays going forward. So that's what we're going to try to do, and I'm really fired up and I'm confident we can do it. You know, and I'm hoping that, you know, my hope would be 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks from now, you know, you guys will look back and acknowledge, you know, some of the you know, the gloom and doom. But I get it because that's how it feels to us too. So if you're asking me, like, do we have a sense of urgency? It's like, I promise you, Charles, like these guys, all of us have a massive sense of urgency. And we have had a sense of urgency. It's not like all of a sudden we're like, oh, we better get our act together. It's like, no, it's been that way like every single day, you know, in our building. That's how guys are approaching it. So we haven't turned it, we haven't reaped it yet, but we're gonna fight for that, you know, and you know, we all believe we're gonna get there.
I know you were asked about Zach Orr yesterday, but it was a year ago, right around this time, you brought in Dean Pease. You know, it's not the same exact situation, but Chuck Pagano's on staff. He's a past defensive coordinator. How much is Zach, how much are you, how much is the defensive staff leaning on him with his experiences? You know, a little bit of a fresher perspective. He wasn't here last year in terms of trying to get this back on track.
Yeah, immensely. I mean, you know, I would say that's true for all the coaches, you know, and Chuck, as much as all the coaches, and also different because Chuck's got all that experience, you know, like you said. Chuck he's been there every day. You know, he's into me. He's a big part of how the defense is built already. And, you know, Chuck is involved. He's on the phones. He's making suggestions, you know, on the phones all the time. It's a great conversation with the whole staff. And Chuck is a great coach, and he's a huge part of it. And he and Zach are talking all the time. And, you know, he's right in there. That's one of the reasons I'm so confident, you know, because Chuck's there. And we talked to Dean, too, just so you know. I mean, had a conversation with Dean and, you know, today, you know, and Zach has a conversation in the staff, you know. So, you know, he's watching, you know, he cares, you know, so he's part of what we're doing. We've got people that we lean on for sure. You know, it's not like we just, if you got people that you lean on that know the defense, that are part of this structure, that you want to get their view of it, you know, we definitely do that.
Okay.
All right, great, thanks.